So I've been using Gardiner products, including the SLS, for about 10 years now. And I've also been using the Phantom from Facelift for about 4 years. So what have I found over those years? Which is my favourite? Which one should you buy? And what are some of the flaws with each of the pole? So I'm Don from Glide Cleaning. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll have some tips and also some videos for our clients. Firstly, which one's better? They're both amazing. You won't go wrong with either of them. But here are some of the things that I've found that are frustrating to work with over the years. Firstly, the Gardiner SLX is the closest thing to the perfect pole. All window cleaners will point you in that direction. Why? One reason is the variety of all the attachments, all the brushes. You can customize that pole within an inch of its life to have it just how you want it. I love using the flocked bristles on a wider brush head with pencil jets, but you can even choose the angle of fan jets from 50 degrees to 100 degrees. It's almost fully customizable to get it just how you want it, because every window cleaner likes something slightly different. But the one issue with the Gardiner is its spinning. What do I mean by that? Well, especially when you collapse it, you're gripping it in the same place. It seems to, the outer rotates, doesn't grip as well. And that's really frustrating to work with, hard to work with if your pole is spinning around in your hand. Why does it spin? Well, basically because grit gets into the pole from on the hose, and it basically acts like sandpaper, and you kind of clamp that down and you basically make the diameter of the internal pole slightly smaller than it is lower where you don't clamp it so often. So especially where you have it collapsed, it often ends up spinning, and after maybe a few months it's noticeable, and after a few years it gets frustrating having to tighten it up. You can't tighten it up and you end up not being able to use the pole. It's really frustrating spinning. And so companies have been trying to find a way to counteract that. So some companies have started bringing in poles that aren't cylinder. They've got straight sides, but that creates problems because if it's not a cylinder, then it's not as strong, and strength and is something really important to work with. Now the Phantom has come up with a really good idea, which is basically having rubber inside of the clips. Not only does that reduce the wear, it improves the grip. In my 4 years of using it, I rarely have to tighten them up. It really works fantastically that way. But there's a few things with the Phantom pole that are a little bit frustrating, that are not as well thought out, that you wouldn't have on, say, a Gardiner pole. For example, you don't have the variety of brush heads from Facelift. You've only got a handful of brushes. Now what you can do if you're a little bit practically minded is make it compatible with Gardiner products. You take the top half of the Gardiner Gooseneck with the Gardiner Quick Release and the bottom half of the Phantom with the Euro thread, and you put them together at the pivot, and it works alright. That it's not perfect, but it does work quite well. You may have to drill through the bottom of the Phantom gooseneck to be able to feed the hose through a little bit better than pulling it around the outside. If you're practically minded, that's not a problem. But again, that's a really frustrating thing. You wouldn't have that problem with the Gardiner. Another thing is the Phantom gooseneck, you cannot rotate it. It's designed to not be compatible with Gardiner, so it's designed so you can't rotate it. But that means you can't get the gooseneck out of the pole very easily. It's one of the most frustrating things about it. The only way I've found to be able to remove the gooseneck from the pole is to undo the clamp at the top of the first section of pole with a little Allen key. That means if your pole hose pops out one day in the summer and you've got to feed it back through for whatever reason, you need an Allen key, and if you haven't got that Allen key, it's a pain, and even if it's in the van, it's a right pain. I've also found that those bolts are really not very strong at all, and I've snapped a couple under very low tensile with a little Allen key. So what I've had to do is buy my own stainless steel bolts that will have higher tensile strength, so they stop snapping. The red ones just seem to snap for some reason. So that is a particularly frustrating thing, that gooseneck, not being able to take it apart very easily or quickly. Another little thing is the base cap. It's a really good idea, it's anti-kink, but because it's made out of rubber, it falls off, especially in the summer when it gets hotter than the carbon, so it expands more. So what that means is, again, you have to glue it, which is okay if you're a little bit practically minded to come up with solutions to these problems. But they are frustrating, and you wouldn't have those problems with a more well thought out pole such as the Gardiner pole. So, What is the better pole? The Gardiner has the spinning issue. You can clean it to maintain it. The more you clean it, they suggest every week, it will reduce that spinning. But that's not always practical to clean your poles every week. The Phantom does come up with the best way to negate that spinning out of probably, in my opinion, the other poles. But it has other issues, and if you're a little bit practically minded, they're not too bad, but it is a little bit frustrating. The Phantom is a little bit more expensive as well. You can get it in the Black Friday sale often at Window Cleaning Warehouse, which is really handy to get a discount that way. Which one would I have? I have both. I like having 118, 122. I think they're both fantastic poles. I don't think you'll go wrong with either of them. That's my opinion. Those are the things that I found wrong with them. It's not necessarily talking about all the good things right with them as well. Just the things that over the few years that I've found that is wrong with them. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. There'll be more videos coming with tips and also for our clients as well.